Dealing with the condition itself is not enough.
Dear Mr. Massa, I'm just trying to mind my own business. What's the matter? It's just another day, another black king captured. I'm about to lose my brain stuck inside this ghetto rapture. I got a lot of smoke. If you want it, you can have it. They want a hat trick, but this is black girl magic. Ain't talking about the kind that'll make you disappear, but I'm talking about the power of the melanin within. Ain't looking for trouble, but I'ma say this one time. I put two dukes up if you try to touch mine. We still want justice for Samir and Trayvon. You say you don't see color, but racism ain't blind. They targeting little kids whose skin look just like mine. So I'm paranoid, it's a war zone outside. And I'm a black queen, so if you ask me to step out of my car, you gon' have to snatch me. Cause I ain't going no damn well. Had to spend my whole life living unfair. Ancestors got my back and they right here. You can never understand, it's a nightmare. Living in my black shoes by the black rules. You can keep your handshake, I don't dap coons. The white man to go nuts if he can't shoot. But you all on his side like a damn fool. Make it make sense.
We are oppressed.
Queen.
We are exploited. We are downtrodden.
Make it make
We are
sense.
denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyyah.
oppression and exploitation
Queen.
away from us or aside from us is come together
Queens.
against the common enemy. Who taught you to hate the texture of your
Ahmadiyyah.
hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin?
Ahmadiyyah.
Parents, pay attention to the books, the school system, even to your little children. Lies mixed with wisdom. His skin too bright, so he was blind to the prison. My skin just right, so I collide with division. You trying to pray to God, but we tired of religion. No savior saving, we got to save our savings. We used to pay miss, how we gon' make the slave rich? But who's to blame, and tell me why you complaining? We need a team effort just to rule the nation. Like a bad relationship, missing communication. We missing moderation. They're trying to get a poison to my population. No reparations. I'm getting tired of Satan.
We are oppressed.
I'm
Queen.
getting tired of waiting.
We are downtrodden.
Queen.
We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Ahmadiyyah.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
Ahmadiyyah.
oppression and exploitation.
Queen.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your morning wake-up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so let's get ready to get into it. Hello, Pearly, Ashgan. All right, Lillian X is here. G from the land, Claudette. All right. Everybody hit that like button. I see you, Dangerous, We the People. Nessa G. Okay. Didi in Dallas is in the virtual building. All right. Sandra is here. Juju B. Okay, so with that all being said, shout out to all of my loyal worlds and everyone tuned into the Queen, and a big shout out to my moderators because y'all know they be putting in work. Okay, so like, share, subscribe, and all of that. Also, double check to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel, especially if you have not been receiving the notifications. All right, so let's get ready to get black into it. But before we do, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
All right, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. And you can also find it at Walmart.com. And don't forget that she sells beard oil as well. Okay, now let's get into these receipts. Okay, so everybody is still talking about the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner that we all think was clearly fake. That's all I've been seeing people say. There may be a handful of people that, seem to believe it, but almost the whole internet seems to think this whole thing was a whole setup and that it was staged. And I definitely think that. But I found out some things that I find interesting, and there's some more screenshots that have since come out. So let's talk about it. First of all, people are talking about Cash or Small Change Patel. Okay, the way he was sitting there looking, and he's a whole FBI director. You would have thought that maybe he would have sprung into action to go and assist the Secret Service and not just sat back as a spectator. I mean, especially given the fact that he's always bragging. And even remember how he was bragging after the whole thing was over, okay, when they handed him the mic. So that all been said, let me pull up his video or the video of him.
Can we all stop for a second and just admit that one of the most iconic moments of last night's incident during the White House Correspondents' Dinner is this featuring Kash Patel. This is the director of the FBI, who should be one of the most immediately involved people in what happened last night in Washington, D.C., crouching under a table and looking around a little lost, a little scared, while other people, including several women in evening gowns, are standing up to see what's going on. That man, who is supposed to represent the apogee of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the man who's supposed to represent the top level of the top law enforcement agencies in the United States, instead of springing to action and understanding what's going on, decided to crouch down and wait for directives. If this image, a man entrusted with the enforcement of the law in the United States, crouching behind a table and standing next to a woman who's left there fending for herself during a moment of potential and imminent danger, if that image does not describe to a T what the current administration looks like and stand for, then I don't know what does.
So the shenanigans clearly continue. Okay, old dog Sickum said thumbnail is on point. Thank you, beloved, because they were clearly acting. I mean, at the end of it all, they should have come out from behind the curtains and taken a whole bow, because that's where they were, behind the curtains. Let's go take a look. Trump was behind the curtains, you all. Okay, I'm so glad people pointed this out. First of all, so is Kirk's breath. Look at him laughing. What's funny? What is even funny? Why is he standing behind the curtain laughing? But now look at Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller hiding behind his wife. And then here you can see Trump back there peeking from behind the curtain. Why would you be standing there behind the curtain if there's a whole shooter out there that just fired shots? Multiple shots. Okay, it's all so nefarious. It reminded me of the Wizard of Oz, and clearly it reminded other people of the Wizard of Oz. But you know what's funny about that? Now, you all may remember that for the longest time, about a year ago or so, I kept telling you all that this whole thing with Trump is like the Wizard of Oz. Who's really behind the curtains? Remember, I kept telling you all that? Because that's who Trump reminds me of. He's always boasting and bragging and acting like he's doing so much, and he really isn't doing anything but being destructive and a whole fool. And he's like selling us that same dream, or trying to at least, that the Wizard of Oz was trying to sell, okay, to the Munchkins and Dorothy and everybody else. Now, with that all being said, let's just go back to a moment in time and take a look at that. Now, of course, I had to remove the audio. Another Queen Ahmadiyyah production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud, spreading on light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide.
Okay, that is Trump. All right, that's Trump. Hiding behind the curtains, peeking out at everyone else.
The wrath of the great and powerful Oz. I said come back tomorrow.
If you are really great and powerful, you'll keep your promises.
Do you presume to criticize the great?
Okay, but let's go to this clip where someone got close-ups of the expressions on their faces. Now, we showed this the other day, but they picked out something that I didn't even catch. Now, I removed their audio because they had music playing. So, but I want you to pay attention to the guy that's standing in between Melania and Trump, and he's showing Melania a piece of paper. Now, he supposedly is the person who was going to perform that night. Okay, he was the guest that was supposed to be performing. Now, watch how he's looking at Melania, because the lady in the video says that he's looking at Melania to gauge her reaction, and then he reacts. Now, did y'all see how Trump was sitting there with a smirk on his face? Even after Melania was looking like she was shocked, Trump was just sitting there. He was just sitting there. Okay, this is all hilarious. And it just gets worse and worse as the days go by. I mean, it literally does. But now, the social media sleuths went and dug up a video where Usha Vance, JD Vance's wife, was actually in a competition with the shooter. Now, I want y'all to think about that. And let's not forget that he's also tied to NASA. But what's interesting to me is with all of these accolades, you know, his degrees, his pedigree, and all of that, and all of these accolades that he has, it's interesting that they just call him a tutor. He's just a tutor or an assistant teacher or something like that. I'm like, with all of these accolades, why isn't he like a professor or something? Okay. I mean, that just doesn't make good sense to me. So he has all of this and he's just a tutor, is what they label him as. But let's go to the footage.
Hold on. So the Trump suspect Cole Allen and Usha Vance, JD Vance's wife, were actually in a video in a competition together in 2017, and it was in the news. What is happening? Look at this video. You're going to see both in there. This is at this tech conference where they're trying to get funding. Just look.
College student Cole Allen developed a prototype for a wheelchair emergency brake.
And there he is.
The wheelchair brakes tend to lock the wheels, but don't actually lock the chair to the ground. The idea with this
is interesting.
is to prevent it from moving at all.
Recent
This
Aging
seems
into
nice.
the Future conference held by St. Barnabas Senior Services and the Eisner Foundation
You'll see Usha.
offered a test run on products that have the potential to enrich the lives of seniors.
There she is.
14 different tech startups
Y'all see
got to
her?
present.
How much of a coincidence is this? Is it just me, or does it seem like we're living in a clown world and they're all laughing in our faces allegedly? Or is this just one big coincidence and we should all shut up?
I find it all interesting. Now, D Major says, if this is the Wizard of Oz, I need to click my heels. Okay. This is just all crazy. Sosa said, I'm beyond tired of these bad acting mofos. I am too, beloved. Now, D Major, thank you for insight into the topic and your contribution to the channel, beloved. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, listen, I was going to do a whole thing about the scientists or whatever and why they're really dying. Okay, because now I think it's pretty obvious. And let me tell you all, it's not what we were thinking. It's not what we were thinking about them being tied to the space, the nuclear, the spacecraft and all that, the aliens and all that. No. Nope, that doesn't seem to be what it is. But I'm not going to get into it right now. I'm going to talk about it on a whole nother live because it's a lot. But what I will talk about is the fact that not only are the U.S. scientists dying and disappearing, so are the ones in China. Okay, because I started thinking, wait a minute, are there scientists dying in other places or just the United States? Well, you know, according to reports, deaths of Chinese scientists flagged amid an investigation into the U.S. cases. Another headline says, top Chinese scientists mysteriously dying as FBI investigates string of dead scientists. So before I get into this, does anyone want to venture to guess why these people are dying? You could sum it up in one word. Now, the explanation for why, that's a whole nother story. But if anybody wants to venture to guess, why would you think these people are dying? And like I said, you could sum it all up in one word. Let me see who's going to put it in the chat, shall we? In the meantime, let's talk about this article on these Chinese scientists. At least 9 scientists mysteriously died in China as speculation grows over deaths and disappearances of 11 Americans. Now, most of the individuals held top security clearance with access to classified information on space missions, nuclear technology, and defense projects. Okay, some people are saying truth, cures, technology, cover-ups. Did somebody say free energy? Hold on. Looks like I saw somebody say free energy. Well, you could. Free energy. Yeah, I was going to say money. I was going to say money because the free energy is going to affect a certain group of people's money. Okay, that's why I said you could sum it up in one word. And we probably should have known that from the beginning because when you think about it, these devils will do anything to keep their money. We're going to talk about it later. But so anyway, it goes on to say several experts working in highly sensitive fields, including artificial intelligence, nuclear research, space programs, and hypersonic weapons, have reportedly vanished or died in recent years across the U.S. and China. Now, the pattern has drawn speculation about potential sinister connections between the string of incidents. One of the most mysterious cases is that of defense technology professor Feng Yang, who died in July of 2023. According to official accounts, Feng had just left a late night work meeting at 2:35 a.m. when he died in a car crash in Beijing. Now, he had been reportedly preparing simulations related to a potential invasion of Taiwan before the incident. Speculation around the circumstances of his death was fueled by the wording of his obituary, stating the scientist had been sacrificed while performing official duties. Interesting choice of words. They say he was sacrificed. Okay, now, some observers felt this bore little relation to the alleged traffic accident. Questions were further raised when Feng was buried in a high-profile graveyard generally reserved for national figures, not usually an honor afforded to ordinary citizens. Now, Feng's death is one in at least 9 similar cases involving Chinese scientists in recent years. Space expert Sh00ting also died in a reported car accident in December of 2024. Okay, Zhao Guangguin or Guangguan. I'm not sure how to say it. Okay, a chemist was passed away in December of 2023 without an official cause of death recorded. Very interesting. Meanwhile, Yan Hong and Feng Dianing who both worked in hypersonics, died after a short illness and an unexpected medical incident abroad, respectively. Drone expert Zhang Debiang and data scientist Lu Donghui also died in unclear circumstances. This is all very suspicious. This is a whole lot. This is a whole lot of people dying, scientists, dying. Now, in the United States, at least 11 scientists with ties to nuclear research, NASA aerospace programs, and classified government projects have also reportedly vanished or died in mysterious circumstances. And I want you all to pay attention. Now, they say the FBI has launched an investigation. I'm pretty sure, in my opinion, that the FBI, as well as the Trump administration, already knows why these people are dying. I think they already know. That's just my opinion, because when things like this happen, hey, it has usually shown through history that the government had something to do with it. Okay, allegedly. Now, lawmakers are now demanding that the FBI, Pentagon, NASA, and the Department of Energy open probes into the concerning trend. And as I said, the whole thing about this being related to space travel, aliens, extraterrestrials, and all of that, that has nothing to do with it, okay, in my opinion. But that's a good thing for them to put out there, to have us looking over here when everything's really found over there. Okay, so please pay attention. Now, most of the individuals held top security clearance with access to classified information on space missions, nuclear technology, and defense projects. They say the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform is investigating recent unconfirmed public reporting on the disappearance and death of the individuals with access to sensitive U.S. scientific information. This is what Republican Chairman James Comer wrote in letters that were sent out on Monday. saying these reports allege that at least 10 individuals who had a connection to U.S. nuclear secrets or rocket technology have died or mysteriously vanished in recent years. See how they keep pivoting that? That's a real good thing. Like I said, to throw you off track, off the scent, because that's what we were all looking. We were looking in that direction. Okay, now if the reports are accurate, these deaths and disappearances may represent a grave threat to U.S. national security and to U.S. personnel with access to scientific secrets. Mr. Comer noted the possible sinister connection between a string of mysterious deaths and disappearances that began in 2023. The disappearances started with retired Air Force General William Neal McCausland when he went missing on February the 28th. He was last seen leaving his Mexico home without a phone 2 months ago. His wife told 911 dispatchers McCausland looked like he was trying not to be found. A disturbing pattern emerges as his disappearance was near identical to 4 other missing persons cases in the Southwest before May and August of last year. Worrying, they have all been linked to McCausland through his work with the Air Force Research Lab, which was based at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Now, the base has been legend since the 1947 Roswell UFO crash. It's rumored to study extraterrestrial technology. See how they're putting that in there to make it all seem like that's where it's going? Okay, but we're not going to fall for it because now we know it's all about the cash. Okay, McCausland supervised and approved funded for scientist Monica Jacinto Reza to develop a space-age metal for rocket engines called Mandaloy. Reza, age 60, then disappeared on a hiking trip in California on June 22nd last year. Here's the thing. This lady, Monica Reza, she actually patented this technology that is now being used right now in real time in these rockets, okay, in these rocket engines or whatever. So she came up with that. And so I wonder who's going to be in charge of that, or who's going to get, the proceeds from that. Did she leave a will? Is somebody in her family going to get it, or is NASA going to keep it? I just have questions. Stephen Garcia was a government contractor working at the Kansas City National Security Campus that builds more than 80% of the non-nuclear components that go into building the military's nuclear weapons. Like McCausland, Stephen Garcia, age 48, vanished from his home in Albuquerque, New Mexico, on foot, without everyday essentials like a phone, instead just bringing a handgun. And so they go on to talk about all the rest, and I think I've already schooled you all on what the rest of this whole thing was all about, but I find this all very interesting. Like I said, find this all very interesting. And we'll get into the whole explanation for it, like I said on the other video, because that's absolutely what this all sounds like. Like they were messing with what they were doing and what they had found was going to threaten a whole lot of people's money. Okay, a whole lot of people's money, but in turn, it was going to save a lot of us money. Okay, the devils can't have that, because the devils, as much as they hate the regular lowly people, specifically the ones who look like me, they love our money. Okay, they love our money. Now, with that being said, let's go to what some of the Torrance residents are saying about the shooter, as well as speaking about his manifesto. And also, Trump did an interview with 60 Minutes, and you all know that I'm allowed to use 60 Minutes as footage. Okay, every time I do, they put a block on my video. ScrewTube does, that is. Now, I've seen other people use it, but when you're shadow banned, I guess that's what you can't do. But lucky for me, CBS showed the very clip that I need. So we're going to go to CBS News and check out that clip from the interview, because Trump did something that I thought was so hilarious and very telling at the same time. Okay, let's go to CNN's clip. The suspect's writings analyzed. Okay, this is what they're talking about on here. And they say that he didn't think he would be forgiven, or didn't care about being forgiven, I guess.
Charging through security and opening fire at the White House Correspondents' Dinner is set to appear in court for his arraignment in the coming hours. 31-year-old Cole Thomas Allen, a part-time teacher from California. He's facing federal firearm and assault charges. You see him here in this photo. We have learned that the suspect purchased 2 firearms legally in recent years. You're looking at one of them, a shotgun, And just before the attack, he allegedly sent a note to family members expressing political anger and plans to target members of the administration. Well, he wrote in that note, quote, "I don't expect forgiveness."
We did obtain this so-called manifesto. That is what agents and administration officials are referring to, these writings from the suspect. We are told that he sent this manifesto to his family members roughly 10 minutes before the incident occurred. But these officials also told me that the family members did not see this until after the incident, and that's when they reported it to local authorities. One thing is clear, though, in these writings, this suspect did set out to harm cabinet officials in Trump's cabinet. In fact, this line in particular, it says, administration officials, they are targets prioritized from highest ranking to lowest. And then he goes into saying that he's not going to be targeting law enforcement. Of course, we know he did end up exchanging fire with one of those agents who, of course, thankfully was wearing protective gear and is expected to be all right.
So joining me now is CNN senior law enforcement analyst Andrew McCabe. So,
let me just say this. Now, we heard the gunshots per se. It sounded like there were 5 or 6 gunshots. So I want you to pay attention to this. You mean to tell me with all of that top-notch supposed security that they have in their Secret Service, FBI, and all of that, that this man not only was able to fly and zoom past them with guns, knives, you name it, but he was able to let off 5 or 6 shots before being subdued? 5 or 6 shots, that's one thing. Another thing is they keep telling you that this man, people are online saying this man is black. They're saying that this man is black. Is he black? What I find interesting about that is this. My good friend, whom some of you know because he used to be one of my moderators, but due to his schedule, he's no longer a moderator. But a good friend of mine told me months ago that they would get a black man or a black-looking person to take out Trump so that the MAGA cult members could turn on us and start a civil war. So I find it very interesting that this black-looking person is the one who supposedly did this, and they didn't kill him on the spot. They didn't shoot him on the spot after he let off 5 or 6 rounds in the White House. Remember the poor black lady who just simply made a wrong turn and she had mental health issues and she was trying to turn around and get out and they shot her up to death? Y'all remember that? And didn't she have a child in the backseat, if I'm not mistaken? But they didn't shoot him, though, after he shot 5 or 6 rounds off and shot one of the Secret Servicemen who was wearing a vest, okay, and received no serious injuries. And also, that doesn't make any sense because we know that's not real life. We know that's not how it goes in real life, not here in the United States. We know that's not how it goes. We also know that if someone we have seen Trump get mad, you'll see him get mad in a second when I play the clip from CBS. But you'll see how Trump gets mad, and we know that he gets mad when somebody criticizes him, doesn't agree with his talking points, does anything that's opposing what he's putting out. At the end of the day, he gets very upset real quick. He talks trash on a regular. He belittles, demeans people on a regular. So you mean to tell me the fact that nobody stopped that man from zooming past, letting off 5 or 6 shots, and Trump's not mad? He's not going in on anybody in the Secret Service. He's not saying somebody dropped the ball. He's not asking the questions of why the hell did this man get in here with all those guns and knives? He could have took me out. He didn't say any of that. He's praising them. Now, okay, at the end of the day, we could say, well, he's praising them because nothing happened to him. But at the end of the day, we know Trump. And if anything we know about Trump is the fact that if he felt like somebody didn't do their job, he would absolutely let it be known. And this would be a case where somebody didn't do their job, because how do you get in here with all these weapons and you even had a gun that you had to assemble? This is all jokes. This is all smoke and mirrors, period. Okay, none of it's real. Okay, it's lies. It's all lies, in the words of Michael Jackson. Okay, let's continue.
Andy, to start, can you talk about the value of a manifesto? I have to admit, when there are mass shootings, we tend not to quote from them. What's going to be significant in this?
In other news, Georgia residents are going to be happy to hear this. It just came out.
Yeah, Audie, so the primary thing that investigators are looking for right off the bat is to make sure that there's no evidence of additional plotting. Are there other people connected to this person who might be like-minded, who are thinking about doing the same thing, or who may have helped him execute his plan? And so the manifesto can be enormously helpful with that. Once you've resolved that question in your mind, you're fairly confident that there's no one else involved here, there's still a real a high priority on mining as much intelligence as you possibly can about why this person did what they did. And let's be clear, investigators are collecting evidence to be able to help prove the prosecution. That's going on in one channel, but alongside that is a broader scope of intelligence that you're looking for to answer that why question. And the reason is, the more we learn about why people resort to political violence or arm themselves with weapons and go into events like this, the better we can get at spotting threats and mitigating these sort of threats before they happen. So it's a constant thing that law enforcement is always doing.
And sadly, something that's not so unusual, he actually sent his messages to his brother, to family members. They actually contacted the police department, I think it was in New London, Connecticut, to talk about their concern. Can you talk about what that means? Like, is the family going to be part of this investigation now? And how can families be helpful in these incidents?
There's no question that they will approach each one of these family members, those who receive the manifestos and possibly others, and to request that they sit down and subject themselves to interviews. Not anything that could result in them getting in trouble. That's not the focus here. But you want to really know about that communication, about how it was received, and really about the relationship preceding that communication. How did we get to this point? The family members can be of enormous significance to an investigation. Probably the most famous example of that is, of course, the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski.
Okay, I don't want to play that whole thing. It's about 10 minutes long. We've heard enough. Now let's go to this CBS report about Torrance residents, how they react to neighbors' alleged ties to White House Correspondents' dinner shooting. Okay. Likes up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share. Thank you in advance.
Accused of opening fire at the hotel where President Trump and other administration officials were attending the annual White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Cole Allen is a teacher who authorities say wrote a manifesto explaining his decision to target Trump administration officials. And CBS LA's Brittany Ehrman leads us off tonight from Cole's neighborhood in Torrance, which is now at the center of an FBI investigation, Brittany.
That's right, Leslie and Gio. We've seen FBI agents going door to door in this neighborhood. Now, tonight it's been pretty quiet. This is the home of the suspect that we're talking about tonight. You can see there are cars in the driveway. The porch light is on, but not much movement tonight that we've seen so far being here. But we did see dozens of neighbors walking by trying to make sense of what happened.
Got to watch the whole FBI SWAT team going into the house.
Martin Henry still processing what unfolded right across the street. His neighbor, 31-year-old Cole Allen, is accused of opening fire at the White House Correspondents' Dinner Saturday night. Allen lived in this Torrance home with his parents. Henry says he had interacted with Allen's father multiple times.
He was always outside, working in the garage, so he would just wave, and I would say hi.
So kind of friendly.
Yes, very friendly. Yeah.
On Sunday, the FBI went door to door interviewing neighbors.
They've executed various search warrants on locations, also on devices that were recovered from the suspect.
Tonight, we're learning more about how officials believe Allen carried out last night's attack. Senior officials tell CBS News surveillance video shows Allen leaving his 10th floor room at the Washington Hilton, dressed in black, carrying a shotgun, a handgun, and a bag of knives. Investigators say he used an interior stairwell, running down about 10 floors, bypassing heavily monitored areas of the hotel. He then emerged on the terrace level, just yards from a main access point to the ballroom, and started sprinting. Secret Service officers confronted and tackled him within moments. At that time, security screening was winding down and screening machines were being dismantled. Authorities are now investigating how he got that far.
He traveled from Los Angeles to Chicago and then Chicago to D.C. It appears he traveled by train.
Family members say Allen trained with firearms, and records show he legally purchased guns in California in 2023 and 2025. Authorities are also reviewing a so-called manifesto that said he planned to target Trump administration officials.
I read the manifesto. You know, he's a sick person. I'm a big fan of the people, of law enforcement. And, you know, some of these people, they may be crazy, but they're not stupid, and they figure things out.
Allen now faces federal charges, including assault on a federal officer and weapons violations. For neighbors here in Torrance, the shooting feels too close to home.
We're shocked to hear this last night. And so, yeah, it's sad, it's scary, and we're just so thankful that our president is safe and okay.
Now, authorities say Allen, the suspect, could face more charges as the investigation continues. He is expected to be in court tomorrow. Live in Torrance, Brittany Ehrman, CBS LA.
Brittany, thank you.
And I want you all to pay attention to how they had, I want you all to pay attention to how they had the black reporter reporting on that too, for good measure. Do y'all ever notice that? How when these things happen, sometimes they have the black reporters come out report on the black people or the black looking people. Okay, now, with that all being said, this man is being used, the looks of him and everything is being used to spark outrage among the MAGA cult members. Interesting thing is, most people have sense enough to know that it's all fake. It's all just a ruse. Okay, please pay attention. Now, with that being said, listen to this. Okay, so who are the wide awakes? Thank you, Wally, for sending me this. Okay, now let's get into it. The original Wide Awakes were a Republican political organization founded in Hartford, Connecticut on March 3rd of 1860, dedicated to electing Lincoln to the presidency, according to the National Park Service. Founded by 5 young law clerks, the group took its name to symbolize their political awareness. What distinguished the Wide Awakes from other 19th century political clubs was their youth, effectiveness, and distinctive uniforms. Okay, kepi hats, capes made of enameled canvas, and large kerosene lamps carried during pro-Lincoln torchlight parades. Now, members ranged in ages from 15 to 40, making it one of the first political organizations formed by, of, and for young Americans. I've literally never heard of this group, but this is interesting. The Wide Awakes were a political curiosity in the North, but viewed with suspicion and fear in the South, where newspapers exaggerated the group's paramilitary aspects. Their largest event was the Grand Procession Parade in New York City, the biggest pro-Lincoln rally in the United States, with thousands of members traveling from across the country to participate. The parade took over 2 hours to pass. After Lincoln's election on November the 6th of 1860, many Wide Awakes shifted their activism to enlisting in the U.S. Army at the outbreak of the Civil War. So now they supposedly have a modern Wide Awake movement. Now, mind you, I haven't read this, so this is all news to me. I literally just got this in my email, okay, minutes ago. Now, a modern Wide Awakes network was launched in 2020. Who knew? Have you all ever heard of this? I clearly never have. Okay, so drawing direct inspiration from the original movement. According to amplifier.org, one of the founding organizations, the new Wide Awakes are a network of thousands of artists, cultural workers, and activists driven by the most urgent social and political issues of our time. The modern network describes itself as one of the largest collaborations of cultural leaders in U.S. history, with nationwide civic actions organized before and after the 2020 election. The network officially launched with an October 3rd, 2020 anniversary march down Broadway in New York City, recreating the original Wide Awakes Grand Procession. Wide Awakes imagery was also featured during Alicia Keys' performance at the NFL's 2020 season kickoff event. Now, the group's tagline individually, we are asleep. Together, we are awake. Now, that echoes the political awareness philosophy of the original 1860 organization. Now, they say, based on the public record of its activities, founding partners' rhetoric, and its own publicly available organizing toolkit, the modern wide awakes operate on the political left and frame their work around progressive social justice causes. Founding artists including Hank Willis Thomas, known for the All Lives Matter, not lives, L-I-E-S, the All Lives Matter banner displayed near the White House in June of 2020, Eric Gottsman, Jose Parla, and Wildcat Ebony Brown. Okay, so these are the founding artist. Now, according to Amplifier, the modern movement frames its work as a response to a national choice between chaos or community and operates through the chapters that organize art-driven activism, voter engagement, and community building. The connection between Allen and the modern Wide Awakes group remains under investigation. Oh, so Allen was a part of this movement, and it is unclear what specific role, if any, his alleged affiliation may have played in the attack. Okay, that being said, here's an Amplifier statement. The Seattle-based art and design nonprofit that produced visual materials for the Wide Awakes project clarified its relationship to the group in a statement to Newsweek and explicitly distanced itself from Allen. Well, I can see why. They say in 2020, Amplifier was asked to help create a series of artworks for the open source Wide Awakes project. Now, one of more than a dozen campaigns we worked on for numerous partners that year. This is what a spokesperson for Amplifier said. In 2022, we used some of the art in a clothing line and showed it at an exhibition. Since that time, we have periodically reposted these artworks on our social media accounts. They said we had never heard of Cole Allen before yesterday, and he has never had any affiliation with our organization. Our hearts go out to those affected by the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. The connection between Allen and the modern Wide Awakes group itself remains under investigation, and it is unclear what specific role, if any, his alleged affiliation may have played in the attack. See, they said they don't know him. They said they never heard of him until yesterday. And they probably never did. Okay, this is probably all more poppycock put together, thrown in the pot to stir it all up and try to make sense. Like, oh, he's belonged to this far right, fringe group. Is that what this is all about? Okay, I'm sorry. Or far left fringe group. Okay, because they say he voted for Kamala. Now, at the end of the day, if these people are saying they don't know him, where are they getting it from that he was a member of this organization, and why should we believe them? Because I don't believe any of the rest of this crap that's going on as it pertains to the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Okay, I just don't. Where do the modern awakes stand on today's issue? They do not publish a formal policy platform on hot button issues like abortion, immigration, transgender rights, or gun control. Instead, the network frames its work on broader cultural and democratic terms, describing it in its own materials as a movement for liberation of the mind, body, and spirit that emerges where justice, democracy, and welfare for all people are threatened. The group's toolkit was used to organize chapter activations around the 2020 and 2021 elections, points to specific progressive electoral causes, and the toolkit directs members to volunteer with Fair Fight Action, the voting rights organization founded by Stacey Abrams, and to support the Senate campaigns of Georgia Democrats John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. The group's Civic Joy framing emphasized food banks, music, art, and community building at polling sites in the counties vulnerable to long lines of voter suppression. Members have also explicitly tied their work to Black Lives Matter. Now they're trying to put Black people in this. I want you all to pay attention. Now they're trying to put Black people in this. The members have ties to Black Lives Matter in their work, opposition to mass incarceration, immigrant rights, women's suffrage, and the legacy of civil rights activism. In a 2020 Days Digital Roundtable, Wide Awakes founders described the movement as a liberation movement focused on dismantling what impact strategist Carly Fisher called the paradigm of the United States, slavery as the basis of the economic system. Yeah, they're trying to put us in this. Just like my friend said. Okay, just like my friend said. Now, he may not have gotten everything right, but he darn sure got a big part of it right. Okay? They can miss us with it. So now they're trying to act like he was connected to some French group whom they say, oh, they're against this type of politics and against this, and they were affiliated and were out there working for Black Lives Matter. Okay, please pay attention. And therefore, all the stuff that we're against, okay, abortion, transgenderism, and all of this. I'm trying to pay attention. That's the message, and that's the point they're trying to put out. Okay, that's what that sounds like to me. Okay, if I had to venture to guess, absolutely trying to paint a narrative here. Okay, so please pay attention. Let me tell y'all why Trump really did this. Okay, let me tell y'all why Trump really did this. And in my opinion, this is all unsubstantiated speculation, to say the least. Okay, you know speculation doesn't hold up in the court of law. All right. So let me just tell you all this. So said, like you say, Queen, a lie doesn't care who tells it. Exactly, as long as it gets told. So here's the thing. Now, it has come to my attention through very good, valuable, and reliable resources or sources that they had to take Trump up out of the Situation Room days ago. Before all of this happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, they said Trump was in the White House. I mean, Trump was in the Situation Room. He got so mad and livid and went off and crashed totally out to the point that he literally had to be removed. He literally had to be removed. Now, I want y'all to think about that, because Trump doesn't let anybody tell him what to do except Satan Yahoo, in my opinion. Other than that, he lets everybody have it. You better not criticize him. You better lick his boots and kiss the ring, or else, lest you be fired or dragged for filth all over the internet, especially on Truth Social. But with that all being said, well, you know, there was a post by a man by the name of Brian Stelter, if I'm not mistaken. And then also, like I said, a very reliable source says that Trump showed his arse, his orange arse. They say he showed his entire orange tacoed arse in the Situation Room because they were having a discussion about the downed aircraft, the F-15 and the aircraft crew. They were talking about that, and Trump was so bothered, he started thinking about how when when Jimmy Carter was the president during the Iran hostage situation, and how that negatively impacted Carter when it was time for re-election, and he lost. He was thinking about that. He said, I don't want to go down in flames. Midterms coming up, and everybody knows my poll numbers are in the trash. MAGA's even turning against me, the ones that have finally gotten a little bit of common sense. And that being said, all the screams against him, the opposition against him, the calls for impeachment, the calls for his swift removal, and all of that were getting so loud. Trump couldn't take it anymore, and he crashed the hell out, and they had to remove him. That being said, Trump was thinking, allegedly, mind you, that remember when Ronald Reagan was polling about 50-something%, and then John Hinckley Jr. shot at Reagan, and then next thing you know, those poll numbers went up to like 68%. You know, probably due to sympathy. So Trump was probably thinking, well, if it worked for Ronald Reagan, John Hinckley Jr. firing those bullets, maybe somebody can do the same for me. That's all I'm saying. Okay, that's exactly what I think happened. All right, that's what I think happened. Red White Entertainment said Trump said the dude was like Mac Dillon. You mean Max Dillon from Gunsmoke? Matt Dillon, is that what he said? Thomas said history repeats itself. Yes. Okay. So that's exactly, I think that's what it was all about. And here's the thing. When John Hinckley Jr. attempted to assassinate Ronald Reagan, wasn't it at that same address? Hold on. I think he was right outside that same building. Hold on. Let's see here. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Here it is. Reagan assassination attempt occurred at the same hotel as the correspondence dinner shoot. Say what? Y'all hear that? Occurred at the same place. And in fact, here's a picture of the incident happened March 30th of 1981. Do y'all think this is a coincidence? And Trump has never in his term as president before, or, never. He never bothered to go to the correspondence dinner, but now when he finally decides to go, this happens. Well, I think that's why he went, so that this could happen. Okay, there's Ronald Reagan right there. All right. Trump, please sit down somewhere. Last call for alcohol in this piece, okay? That's probably what small change and keg's breath we're waiting on. Yeah, the 1981 assassination attempt on President Ronald Reagan occurred as he was leaving the same hotel where Saturday's White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting took place. Okay? Reagan was walking to his limousine after giving a speech on March 30th at the Washington Hilton when gunshots rang out. A ricocheted bullet struck Reagan in the chest, causing serious injuries. John Hinckley Jr. was later arrested for the shooting. Yeah, Trump, that's a good one. Too bad y'all didn't act it out thoroughly enough, and now we all know that it was nothing but cap. Okay, allegedly. Allegedly, it was nothing but cap. Now, if that all being said, Danielle's laughing because I said last call for alcohol. That's all I'm saying. That's probably what they were waiting on. Okay, wait, we don't say the block has been hot. Okay, now let's go to this CBS report because I want to hear him on this interview. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance, beloveds. Here we go.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Errol Barnett as we both take a live look at the White House this morning after a third attempt on the president's life leaves Washington reeling. And that is where we begin our top stories this Monday morning. Gunfire rang out Saturday night at the annual White House Correspondents' Dinner. The suspected shooter had raced past the security checkpoint, exchanging fire with Secret Service and injuring one of them before he was tackled. The event was full of top Trump administration officials and journalists. Also seated on stage was White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, First Lady Melania Trump, and Vice President J.D. Vance. Secret Service escorted them quickly to safety. The suspect has been identified as 31-year-old Cole Allen from Torrance, California. He is due in federal court today. Officials say Allen sent a message to his family right before the incident detailing his plan to target administration officials. His brother reportedly alerted police in Connecticut before the incident. Nora O'Donnell was also in the ballroom when the shooting took place. She spoke with the president about the security breach in an exclusive interview for 60 Minutes.
It looked chaotic. At one point, you were down. What was happening?
Well, what happened is it was a little bit me. I wanted to see what was happening, and I wasn't making it that easy for him. I wanted to see what was going on. And by that time, we started to realize maybe it was a bad problem, different kind of a problem, bad one, and different than what would be normal noise from a ballroom, which you hear all the time. And I was surrounded by great people, and I probably made them act a little bit more slowly. I said, wait a minute, let me see, wait a minute. So, I'm telling guys.
Just at that moment where it looks like you go sort of down with the service, you were telling them to wait?
Well, I know what happened is then I started walking with them. I started walking, and they said, please go down on the floor. So I went down, and First Lady went down also, but we were asked to go down by the agents as I was walking. In other words,
They wanted you almost to crawl
I was
out.
standing up, pretty much. I was standing up and then turned around the opposite direction and started pretty much walking out, pretty tall, a little bent over because I'm not looking to be standing too tall. And, but I was walking out. It was about halfway there. And they said, please go down to the floor. Please go down to the floor. So I dropped to the floor, so did the First Lady.
What was your thought at that moment? What did the First Lady say?
Well, my thought was, I've been through this before a couple of times, and she has not, to this extent, She handled it great. I mean, she's very strong, smart. She got it. She knew what was happening.
The so-called manifesto is a stunning thing to read, Mr. President. He appears to reference a motive in it. He writes this quote, administration officials, they are targets. And he also wrote this, I'm no longer willing to permit a pedophile, rapist, and traitor to coat my hands with his crimes. What's your reaction to
Well,
that?
I was waiting for you to read that because I knew you would, because you're horrible people, horrible people. Yeah, he did write that. I'm not a rapist. I didn't rape anybody.
Oh,
I'm not a
do you think he was
pedophile.
referring to you?
Excuse me. I'm not a pedophile. You read that crap from some sick person. I got associated with all stuff that has nothing to do with me. I was totally exonerated. Your friends on the other side of the plate are the ones that were involved with, let's say, Epstein or other things. But I said to myself, you know, I'll do this interview and they'll probably, I read the manifesto, you know, he's a sick person, but you should be ashamed of yourself reading that because I'm not any of those things.
Mr. President,
and I
these
was
are
never,
the gunman's words.
excuse me. You shouldn't be reading that on 60 Minutes. You're a disgrace, but go ahead. Let's finish the interview.
As he told her, did y'all hear it? I cannot. Who puts on a gaudy voice saying I'm not a rapist, okay? Did y'all hear how he told that poor woman he said she was a disgrace? First of all, she never even said, nor did she imply that the shooter was talking about him. So I just want y'all to pay attention to that. She, and quite frankly, seemed shocked when he said that. She's like, oh, you think he was talking about you? Woo, honey. Okay, talk about telling on yourself. I'm sorry. Talking about a hit dog hollering. Now, she said, first of all, that the manifesto clearly said that he was targeting the Trump administration, which that's multiple people. Okay, when he said it could have been anyone amongst them, but he said, I'm not a rapist. I'm not a PDF file. You're disgusting. Yeah, you would read that. I knew you would because you're disgusting. Okay, you're a disgrace. Now, pay attention to how he roasted her just for that. You mean to tell us that nobody got roasted for the lack or the breach of security when the man ran in there with knives and guns? And hold on, let's think about this. If you're going to take somebody out, okay, specifically someone of such stature as a president, okay, why would you bring a bag of knives? How does that even make sense? Do you think that the Secret Service or whatever other security they have there working alongside them is going to give you a chance to pull out your bag, dig down in there and pick out which knife you need, and you don't worry about cutting your fingers because where's he wearing gloves? So you're going to stick your hand into a bag of knives and pull out one or two to do damage? Why would you even need knives, period? Do you think you're going to get up close enough to the president to juke him one or twice? That's crazy. That is all crazy. This is all lies and BS. It doesn't make any sense. And like Judge Judy always says, when it doesn't make sense, it's a lie, okay? It all makes sense, and they can't. That's what they can't do. Why would you have a bag of knives? Would you? Think about it. I also noticed as we were listening to one of the reports, or maybe I was reading it, but I also noticed that they said that he ran down 10 flights of stairs. Because he was initially on the roof or an upper level or whatever, and they say he ran down 10 flights of stairs, and he wasn't out of breath, and then he dashed past them with a quickness before they knocked him down to the ground. Now, maybe that's why they were able to capture him, because maybe he was slowing down because he was tired and out of breath from running down all those darn stairs. 10 flights, they say. So you ran down 10 flights of stairs, zoom past security, with a bag of knives and guns. Why was his shirt off? Does anybody know about that? Because he had the shirt on when he ran past, made the mad dash. Why was his shirt off? I have so many questions. This whole thing reeks to high heaven of bullshit. Okay, it reeks. It's not making any sense. Okay, it's not making any sense. But you know what I think? I'm going to tell y'all what I think. I'm going to tell y'all what I think. I think that this man is absolutely a patsy. And I think that absolutely he may have written a manifesto that they told him to write. That's what I think. I think that if this man did all of this, actually did all of this, that it had something to do with either MK Ultra or which is mind control, or voice of God technology, which is exactly what I think they used on Aaron Alexis, the Navy Yard shooter that I told you all about weeks ago. Okay? And as far as the crowd is concerned, and I want you all to pay attention because some of the media is mad at us because we're saying it was all fake and staged. Many people are saying that and assuming that. Here's the thing. The media is upset. The media is upset because they're saying that, you know, oh, it was real and this and that. Well, here's the thing, media, legacy specifically. It's not that we think their reactions were necessarily fake. I mean, the people in the crowd, I don't think all of their actions were fake. Some of the people in the crowd, I think they absolutely didn't know. Okay, I think they absolutely didn't know. Melania may not have absolutely known. Then again, she may have. But like somebody said, that was the most expression that they've ever seen from her. So some of the people, as I told you all days ago, specifically I was talking about Melania, may not have known what was going to go down just so that it would look more real when they appeared shocked. Okay? But some of these people absolutely knew what was going on. The lady from CBS, come on now. We know who's in charge of CBS. Very wise. Okay, is she not cool with Trump? I'm pretty sure she is, and is cool with Satan Yahoo as well, in my opinion. Now, that being said, the lady who was all under the camera, under the covers, okay, remember that? The lady who was under the table, live from CBS. I'm here at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, reporting under the table. Girl, sit down somewhere. Under a table, thinking about reporting when somebody's shooting gunfire. You heard about 5 or 6 bullets. People are running and ducking, and you're trying to give the news? Okay, you know, maybe she's just good at her job, but I'm just saying it's all crazy for me. D. Major said, I hope King Charles can talk sense to Trump. I don't think anyone can, beloved. There's no sense to be talked. Okay, when especially when you have the brain aside the size of a mustard seed, no less. Thank you for your insights and topic and your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. It's funny that you brought up King Charles because we're actually about to go to Kirk Starmer, okay, the Prime Minister of the UK, because he was roasting Trump, basically, in my opinion. All right. Thank you for your insight and your contribution, beloved. Peace, love, and blessings. Now let's get into it. It's all crazy.
Correspondence. Ladies and gentlemen.
Oops. Hold on. Let me pull this back up. I mean, at the end of the day, this whole thing is just more than I can bear. Okay, here we go. Likes everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. I mean, because even Starmer knows this is all fake and a whole load of BS, or at least he thinks it. None of us know. I'll say alleged.
Ladies and gentlemen, what we witnessed at the White House Correspondents' Dinner on April 25 is not just alarming, it raises serious questions. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, attended what should have been a night of press freedom, accountability, and democratic values, but instead it turned into something far darker. We now know that gunshots were reported after the event, and before it even began, his own press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, said the speech would be classic Donald J. Trump and that shots will be fired. Let me be absolutely clear. Those are not words you use lightly. Not in today's world. Not in a room full of journalists. Not in a democracy. So I say this directly to President Trump. This doesn't look like coincidence. This looks planned. It looks reckless. It looks dangerous. And it puts lives at risk. Democracy depends on trust.
There's that lady that I told you I was lying back. Look at her in the green dress. What was all that about? She just lied back, and I guess she was playing dead.
Trust in leadership, trust in words, and trust that those in power do not play games with fear. Because when rhetoric crosses into something more...
Look at this lady right here looking at her phone so nonchalantly as they tried to get under the table, it looks like. Why is she just sitting there so casually? And it looks like she's like she's holding her phone. Okay, please.
Or when words begin to echo reality, people get hurt. We in Britain understand the weight of leadership. We understand that every word spoken from the top matters. So I urge you, Mr. Trump, take responsibility, explain what happened, and stop turning serious institutions into stages for chaos, because the world is watching. And right now, it doesn't like what it sees.
Ooh, honey, he told him, and I'm so glad he did, because all these other world leaders coming out with the poppycock BS talking about, oh, well, we hope that President Donald Trump, we're so glad that no one was hurt, acting like they believe the bullshit. They know darn well. They know darn well. Remember, I played you all the video the other day where they were all just being so apologetic and wishing well wishes and all that. I'm like, y'all don't know this is fake. I'm so glad that Starmer came out and said it, because nobody else would, and somebody needed to. Call him out on this BS on a world stage and let everybody know that you think it was all cap. And then show the footage that proves it, because I like the clips he had. And the clips right there showed you right there. Did y'all see the man standing on the chair like he's about to leap off? The lady sitting there casually looking at her phone like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Why is everybody ducking? Ah, crazy. Okay, make it make sense. Let's go to this one. Trump White House dinner shooting staged. So crazy. It's a load of BS, in my opinion.
But none of this seems real, like at all. You've probably heard by now, a suspect armed with knives and guns tried to storm the White House Correspondents' Dinner tonight. The guy's name was Cole Allen, and he was very quickly neutralized by security. But then people online started to do a little bit of noticing. Pause to read. Yeah, I don't know about you, but it's starting to look like one big show, beginning with what Caroline Levitt said right before the start of the event.
It'll be funny. It'll be entertaining. There will be some shots fired tonight in the room.
This, by the way, is Trump's first time attending the White House Correspondents' Dinner as president, and CNN ran this article a few hours before saying to expect the unexpected. Within an hour of the incident, Trump tweets out a video of the shooter running through the event, even though still, for some reason, we can't get any moving pictures of Tyler Robinson. Then it turns out the shooter, Cole Allen, worked at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Very interesting timing given all the UFO stories, so cue the conspiracy theorists on this one. And then there were the reactions, starting with Erica Kirk being Erica Kirk.
I just want to go find you.
I have to say, she looks very upset here, like way more upset than when her husband. Blech. Then we got Dana White.
No, exactly. I want you all to pay attention. She was looking like she was really crying for once. Oh, I just want to go home. Because this is supposedly reminding her of when Charlie got assassinated. Okay, girl, sit down. You didn't have that much grief then. Okay, all cap.
Hey, just loving this whole thing.
It started getting noisy. Tables getting flipped over, guys running in with guns, and they were screaming, "Get down!" I didn't get down. It was fucking awesome. I literally took every minute of it in, and it was a pretty crazy, unique experience.
Totally normal reaction to what is supposedly a presidential assassination attempt.
First of all, he's lying. He said tables being turned over, somebody yelling, "Get down." We didn't hear any of that on any of the footage. We also didn't see any tables turning over. Everybody that did get under the tables did so quite politely, in my opinion. I'd have been shaking the tables, running, ducking, all of that. But everything was just all nice. We did see one little glass of wine that spilt into a dish, not on the tablecloth, mind you. Then we saw the lady who was in the chair on her knees with a handkerchief, okay, a napkin or something underneath her knees to keep them nice and safe so they get scratched or whatever. And then the lady who carefully laid back in the seat. We saw all of that, and it all looked staged. Okay, let me just tell you all something. For those of you who may not know, and you've never heard me say this, because I told you all on more than one occasion, that I have been a crisis actor. Okay, when I was in college, there was a whole situation in downtown Atlanta where they had us come down there, and it was really for a training drill. This wasn't going to be something big like on the news or whatever, perhaps, but this was like for a training for the fire department. So they had students, they picked several of us from the college and had us to come down there, and they gave us little pieces of paper telling us what to do, what role we were to play. It was supposed to be a bombing. There was supposed to have been a bomb explosion. They called the fire department. The fire department's going to come in. They're supposed to take certain people. Now, this was to test them. Okay, it was some type of test they were doing with the fire department. But long story short, some of us were supposed to be dead. Some of us were supposed to be injured. And I was a person who was supposed to be in shock. What was funny was I was so good at the part that I played, I'm a whole actress, mind you, that the firefighters were confused. They didn't know what I was supposed, they didn't know whether I was dead or alive. Because when they said that I'm supposed to be in shock, I was lying there lifeless with my eyes wide open. Okay, so they were like, is she dead? And the other one's like, I don't know. Is she breathing? I don't know. Is she holding her breath? They couldn't figure out what I was supposed to do. That failed some of them. Now, mind you, I had never played a person in shock, so I just did what I assumed someone might look like when they're in shock. That you might be just laying there dazed, looking, not saying a word. So, and some of them thought I was dead with my eyes open, so they left me. See, this is the test. They had to go in there and see how many people they could save in the allotted amount of time. And you had to get the people who were living, not the people who are dead. You don't worry about them. So their job was to go in there and get as many people out. But if some people were dead, you had to figure out, are they dead? Are they just unconscious or whatever? So by the fact, like I said, I was laying there with my eyes open, looking dead, but eyes still open, and I wasn't blinking. I would blink every time I saw them look away. I would blink real quick. But at the end of the day, that's what threw them off, because they literally left me in there and I was living. So that's how some of them failed. Sorry, but that's what it was. So I'm just telling you all, I know how these things go with crisis actors. Okay? Ah, Sheila said Queen Bassett. Yeah, okay, Angela Bassett's little cousin. That was hilarious. Lola said, read them down, Queen, listening in the bushes. Thank you, beloved, for your insight into the topic and your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessing. Sandra said, wow, no one was bothered. Girl, they thought I was dead, honey. Now, just imagine if there had been a real person that was in shock. And rather than saving them, you left them in there and they died. That's why they failed. Okay, so anyway, that was all hilarious. But let's continue, because now they're going to show some text messages. And here's what they say. Tonight is one more reason for the new White House Trump ballroom. Okay, thank God President Trump is building a ballroom at the White House. Okay, this is why we need a ballroom. Okay, listen, these are nothing but bots, they say, or these are influencers who are paid, because remember I told you all, there's a whole budget for social media influencers to paint certain narratives within politics, within sentencing, or when there's big trials like the Diddy trial and all of that. This is what I was telling you all, that lady told me at the courthouse. Okay, so please pay attention. Now let's finish listening to this. All so crazy.
But the most ridiculous thing has to be maybe this coordinated influencer campaign saying this is why Trump needs a new ballroom.
I didn't want to say this, but this is why we have to have all of the attributes of what we're planning at the White House. It's actually a larger room, and it's much more secure. It's drone proof, it's bulletproof glass. We need the ballroom. That's why Secret Service, that's why the military are demanding it.
We officially live in the dumbest timeline ever. I'm sorry, but
he said that's why the military is demanding it. What does the military give a crap whether or not they have a ballroom at the White House, whether it's going to be secured or not? Why would they care? Trump is such a liar, and he doesn't care who he lies to or about what. Now, here is a report from BBC where they say White House says that Trump stands by Secret Service as shooting suspects do in court. And then they show that picture of that lady. Like, oh my goodness. You literally just noticed this. Remember the lady who had the napkin or handkerchief under her legs, her knees? Look at this. There's another lady sitting beside her calmly with her arm wrapped around her. Are y'all serious? Look at it right there. She's sitting there so calmly. Let me see if I can make this bigger. She's got her arm around her. Hold on. Look. And then got her with her glass in the air. What the hell? What is this? What is Now you see some people are ducking, like this lady here. This lady here. Why is she sitting there with her arm around this girl? She's holding up her phone, recording. And then the girl has her knees in the seat with a handkerchief. And this lady's carefully laying back like I told you all. This is just all some bullshit. Do y'all see how this makes no sense? Anyway. Says he stands by the Secret Service. Yeah, and he's not the least bit concerned. He's not even saying anything. Listen, he's not criticizing them at all. And even if he didn't want to go in on them, he could have at the very least said, listen, we're going to have to make sure we tighten up security. That security is more, actively paying attention when people are entering to make sure that something like this doesn't ever happen again. He could have at least said that. He said nothing. He acted as though there was no supposed security breach. And that's because there likely wasn't. All staged, okay? In my opinion. In my opinion. All right? So please pay attention. Now let's go to this next video. This is another person saying that he faked it. And you mean to tell me 3 people have fired at Trump and none of them were good shots? That's very unlikely. Here's the thing, too. If Trump's already had 2 assassination attempts on his life, even after the first one, you would think that there would be so much more careful and have so much more security on him. How do these things keep happening? First time in history, 3 attempts on one president in a year. In just a little over a year. He hasn't even been in the office 4 years yet. And already 3 attempts? Y'all think this is real? Let's continue.
Damn, y'all, they missed again. No, but for real, on a serious note, that was the fakest thing I've ever seen. And I watched the 2024 election results roll in. So, and let me really just lay out all the reasons why I think that. Okay, so, well, for one, he did it before, right? 2, Caroline Leavitt, literally right before on the red carpet, that's even what you could fucking call it, said that there were going to be shots fired. Also, whenever it happened, the reactions on all the faces of the people that would have been in the know were so telling. Like Trump himself with Melania and someone else on either side of him literally gagged. They were which maybe they were acting too, but while they were looking shocked as hell, he was literally sitting there smirking. Also, whenever Secret Service rushed onto the stage to start evacuating people or whatever, they got J.D. Vance first and then just left Trump there out in the open. Left the president out in the open when there's apparently an active shooter. Okay. Kash Patel, same sort of thing. He's just sitting in the middle of the room, ducked down, but just watching as if he's just waiting for it to be over so he can go back to pounding his drinks again. Another one, Pete Hegseth, there's a video of him literally just tongue in cheek, just walking through the room, not going to hide or take, just literally just walking across the, honorable mentions, though, need to go out to Erica Kirk's walk-by cry, where she could be heard saying, I just want to go home. Okay, then leave. No one knows why you were there in the first place. And also to Stephen Miller using his pregnant wife as a shield. I also think it's worth noting that right after this happened, when Trump was talking to the press, the first words basically out of his mouth were, well, this is why I need my ballroom. This is why I need my private ballroom. There it is. There it is, right? Another staged attempt to garner sympathy. Also, I don't see anyone talking about this really, but he never goes to these White House Correspondents' Dinners. He never went during his first term, didn't go last year, but this first one that he went to, shots rang out. Also, after the shooter was identified, photos from, his personal life or whatever started trickling out. And there are photos of him wearing an IDF sweater. This is so fake. And honestly, maybe this is taboo of me to say, but I feel like these situations like this always end up with the Democrats coming out too, being like, oh, like praying for President Trump. Like violence is never that. Like, oh my God, y'all are falling into the trap. But who knows, y'all? Maybe third time's the charm.
At the end of the day, the Democrats need to sit down because they know just as well as we do that it's all just a piece of BS, okay? Allegedly. Now, let's go to that clip of Erica Kirk again with that cry face. I just want to go home. Girl, sit down somewhere. Look at her. I just want to go home.
What we did see is some real deep, disturbed emotions in that room. One of whom was Erica Kirk. As I was walking out of the venue trying to figure out what happened and what we could find out as a reporter, as we're walking out, she also came out and she came right by me. It was just a few seconds in tears saying, I just want to leave. Imagine her distress as she's sitting there hearing the same thing that we all heard, which was gunshots. And knowing what happened to her husband and being in that scenario, she looked visibly terrified as she was being escorted out. And then we saw her again once she was outside of the building, kind of being surrounded and waiting to be able to leave the area completely.
All she was trying to do was once again trying to make it all about her. That's what she was doing. She's an attention whore, okay? And she was trying to make it all about her as per usual. Now let's go to this clip from MS Now when they say that people are saying it's fake. And they're like, we were there. It was real. Yeah, okay, it was a real incident. And you all probably didn't know it was going to be staged, but clearly we think it was.
I'm disturbed by, as we woke up this morning, is seeing folks on the internet say that this was a false flag, that we are basically all in cahoots to say that this was staged. And I think as someone who, for all of us, who was in the room, who had to jump on the ground, who had to text our family and friends and tell them that we're okay, calling our moms, like so many people in this country have done for decades, to see people say those kinds of things, it is frustrating and it's disturbing. It shows the issues that we have to try and fix in this country. And I think nothing taught us anything better than, the importance of journalists being on the ground, in the room for moments of historic significance than last night, us all dropping to the ground and literally like 5 seconds later, phones up and around so that the American people get a firsthand account of what's happening in a room where the most powerful people, including the president and vice president of the United States, were at.
I saw something that, the false flag, this was staged, is a big thing in MAGA world. But I'm hearing that on my social media pages from people on the left also thinking that this was staged, that this was a false flag, that this was something being done on purpose. And hearing you speak, Eugene, if it's coming from the right and it's coming from the left, these conspiracy theories, it says to me that there feels to be a lack of trust in this country.
And empathy.
And if people can't see that a room...
Now, the guy with the big hair said, and empathy. Honey, there's not a lack of empathy in this country for most of us. Most people just don't have a lack of empathy or just have a lack of empathy for Trump with all the lies. Okay, now also being said is this. They don't realize how this could look fraudulent to people. They don't realize how this looks like a whole ruse to people or whatever. And they're saying conspiracy theories. Where's the conspiracy? Where's the conspiracy? I mean, of course, they were there and they may have been shocked and appalled, afraid and all of that. Okay, but they don't think that it could have been a false flag that they just didn't know there were participants in. Let's continue.
Full of journalists have ran out of the room, got in front of cameras, got on their platforms, telling people what happened in the room. If you cannot trust what we are telling you, I don't think that's an issue of journalism. That is an issue of American society. And so if you're watching The Weekend, you've been watching us, you've watched us now for 4 hours, I hope you know that we are telling you, because we were in the room. We were sitting right next to each other. Jackie was right next to me, to my left, and Eugene was to her left. We're telling you that what happened last night was real.
Everyone likes to be an armchair quarterback at the end of the day. Tons of people looking at videos wondering, oh, why was Kash Patel the last person to leave the ballroom? Did Secret Service mess up? Did they forget about him? No, actually, Ashley was sitting with him. She said his instincts were to stay, to be on the ground, play FBI director.
He was operating bravely in that moment, actually.
And very quickly, there is a connection between conspiracy theorizing and political violence, statistically significant. Harvard Kennedy School has done a bunch of studies on this, most recently, December 2024, after the November 2024 election. Again, it's statistically significant. We've got to nip this in the bud.
One thing that I'm disturbed by as we woke up this morning is seeing folks on the internet say that this was a false flag, that we are basically all in cahoots to say that this was staged. And I think as someone who
His feelings are just hurt, but at the end of the day, sir, it's going to be all right. Okay, we're not blaming you all. We're just saying. And let me tell you all something, what I was thinking about, right? Something else I was thinking about was when I was doing that whole scenario where I was in shock, I was thinking about the firefighters that failed. Well, at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure that I taught them a very valuable lesson because I may have saved people's lives for all I know. At the end of the day, now, if they were to, after that, if they were to actually go in to rescue people and see someone in shock who was looking like that, then they wouldn't leave them. Just think about that. Okay. Had I done something else, they may not have been able to detect that in the future. Because let me just go to this because I just looked it up. So it says, I said, would a person in shock be motionless with their eyes open? Because remember, I didn't know what somebody would do if they were in shock. So I just did what I thought they would do or how they would be, one of the symptoms. It says, yes, a person in medical shock can be motionless with their eyes open, appearing awake or dazed while actually being unresponsive or experiencing severely altered mental consciousness. Okay. And they would be motionless and unresponsive as shock progresses. The body's compensation mechanisms fail, leading to extreme weakness, lethargy, and or complete unresponsiveness. Okay, so I'm sorry. I'm out here saving lives, y'all, when I was a crisis actress. I want y'all to pay attention. Now, I'm glad. I don't know what made me think to look that up, but I feel better now because I really felt bad all these years for having made them fail. Now, let's continue because, listen, hold on. I think there was another video of somebody going in on Trump. Hold on. Let me see if this is it. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, no. Well, hold on. This is it. What is this? Trump's plan? Let me see here. Hold on, beloveds. Okay, no, let's go to this video with Rob O'Neill. Now, Rob O'Neill is one of the retired members of Navy SEAL Team 6, and he had some things to say about Charlie Kirk's assassination, which I thought was interesting. So let's go to that. He says, I'm asking a lot of questions. And also, let me just tell you all this. Did you all know that when Trump was shot at in Pennsylvania, at that rally, did you all know that Trump basically had them to call off to stop the investigation? Why would he do that? I thought that was very interesting that according to Joe, what was that guy's name? Joe Kent, the one who was the cybersecurity director that retired or resigned rather. Yeah, he said that Trump had them to call off that investigation. Now, why would you want them to call it off? If it was fake, you'd want them to call it off because you don't want them to find out it's fake. Or you don't want the public to find out. Now, I'm not saying that it was. I'm just saying if. That would definitely be a good reason for them to call it off. Okay? Please pay attention. Now, that all being said, Let's go to this clip, and this is from Newsmax.
And a lot of Americans are asking the same questions about the official narrative that we've been fed for months about what really happened that day at Utah Valley University in September. And when you ask simple questions about what happened, you're instantly labeled a conspiracy theorist, another Candace Owens. But I'm not the only one asking these questions. And tonight, it just feels like we know more about Lee Harvey Oswald than we do about Trump's would-be assassin, Thomas Matthew Crooks, or Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin, Tyler Robinson, which just seems strange given that it's 2026. Here's the grainy video. This is the best video they have. Two experts who have been asking a lot of these questions are joining us now. Former SEAL Team 6 operator Rob O'Neill, someone who knows a whole lot about ballistics. He shot Osama bin Laden. We're also joined by retired Air Force Brigadier General and Combat C-17 Commander General Blaine Holt. Gentlemen, great to have you on. Rob, you know what you're talking about. That's why we had you on. You know about ballistics. You shot bin Laden. What bothers you the most about this investigation?
Thanks for having me, Rob, and good to see you, General Holt.
You too.
A lot of things bother it bothers me about this. Nothing in particular. It's not like I'm out there saying big lie or a conspiracy or someone did it. I'm just saying I've been in a lot of shootings. I've killed more than a handful of people, and this thing looked shady off the bat. I mean, I've killed people closer than I saw the camera, and I've never seen a shirt move like that. That looks like an explosion to me. Just the fact that no one started doing first aid to Charlie Kirk, they were more concerned about getting SIM cards out of cameras, removing cameras, and then getting him off the X somehow. There didn't seem a lot of concern for his life. It seemed like just clean it up. And then, I mean, I've been told they paved it over a couple days later. And then you get Erica Kirk behind all the razzle dazzle, and she's really quick to forgive the alleged shooter, which technically says that was him because I forgive him, but that you can't forgive Candace Owens for having an opinion or asking questions. And they mock people by saying, oh, I'm just asking questions. Yeah, I'm a SEAL Team 6 sniper. I'm asking a lot of questions. No one wants to answer them.
And you're able to ask these questions because you've been there. General, same to you. So this rifle, this 30-06, it's a powerful rifle. What do you make of this narrative that the bullet might have hit Charlie's spine, which would explain why the damage wasn't what you would typically see with a rifle like that from that range?
No, that's not what happened. And this is the thing that hurts here is, and what bothers me the most out of it.
Wait, did you say, General, you don't think that's what happened?
Absolutely not. I'm with Rob. Something exploded on him. But I don't have to get into the details because I'm not in a court of law having to prove a darn thing. Here's what bothers me is there are millions of vets with Rob's training. Training in combat arms as low as mine is. I'm a pilot. But we have enough training to know better than the garbage that was foisted upon us from the Justice Department that day, where they seemingly solved the case in about 8 hot seconds. And we know better. You're not going to take a 30-06 with a kid who's never killed anybody up onto a roof. He takes his first life and does all the things that Rob says he did. So what bothers me, Rob, in all of this is that they know that we know better, and yet they foist this as the narrative and the parable anyway. Why would you do that?
Well,
why would you do that in a circus where there's so many of us who are already going to go, well, that's not exactly what happened at all.
You know, Lee Harvey Oswald, 1963 in Dallas, I think a lot of people never thought something like that could happen again because now everybody's got a cell phone, everybody's got a camera, except for this day in September. In general, that's your opinion and you're entitled to that. But there is this narrative, Rob, about this gun. Again, tell everyone at home about this rifle, this 30-06, that Tyler Robinson would have had to take apart, get up onto the roof, put back together, and then he apparently jumped off the roof with it. And then he was seen eating, apparently, at a steakhouse right down the road, not that long after this assassination took place. It all just sounds completely...
Yeah.
It just is, it's hard to believe is what it is. And I hope we find out the truth in court. Rob, the floor is yours.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, the screwdriver that probably wouldn't have worked to take it apart or put it together in the first place was left on the rooftop anyway. So he jumped off the roof and put it back together without the screwdriver that probably didn't work anyway, put it back together, wrapped it up, and put it nicely in a bunch of trees, and then ran off and started texting someone like English was a second language. I mean, the whole thing's just shady. .30-06 is 30 caliber invented in 06. It's a 1906 to kill big game. And if you hit something in the spine, especially a human, I've shot ballistic gelatin all the time. I've never shot a human with 30-06, but I know it would do a lot more than that. If it was just a 30-06 shooting too, that went left to right, not from front to back. You can clearly see an exit wound on Charlie Kirk's left-hand side. And then it just is. Why are we supposed to believe everything we see on TV? Shut up, believe it. That's the narrative. No, it's not. I'm SEAL Team 6 sniper. I went to sniper school in 1998. I'm telling you.
Such a good point. Final question, General, to you. There was this guy, and the media and the FBI just labeled him a wacko. This guy, George Zinn. This is the 71-year-old guy who immediately after it happened jumped out and said that he shot Charlie Kirk. And in the moments, the aftermath, I was here in the newsroom, we thought it was this guy. And the FBI even said, we got our guy. Why would someone make that claim in a situation like that? I know that you don't have the answer to that, General, but it just was very bizarre.
No, but there's been a lot of reporting that he's got an interesting past all unto himself, and he's been at several scenes of the crime. Needs to be looked into. I'm more interested in a gentleman named Zach Qureshi, who it was tweeted out, well, we got our guy. They didn't name him at the time. We got our guy. And then 90 minutes later, oh, we don't got our guy. Well, that's 90 minutes that a real killer could have fled the scene. But if you're going to tell me that Tyler Robinson, with his background, is that cold-hearted a killer that he can do all the things that were just reported, and then he's going to show up at a restaurant and go, totally good now. I'm sorry. Make it make sense.
Yeah.
And then go ahead and hand the defense team all of the evidence so that they can get their continuance for the probable cause hearing, because that's not normal either. So follow the normal, boring steps to a murder investigation and just follow them transparently for the country, because it's high interest.
And again,
we'll all be fine and we'll stop asking questions.
This is just, for me, it's just about the truth. And we're just asking these questions. You know, we didn't get the truth in 1963. They killed Lee Harvey Oswald, and then they killed Jack Ruby. So we never got the truth. And I feel like it just keeps happening, and we don't want it to happen again. You talk about Butler, Pennsylvania. Rob, I have so many questions about Butler, Pennsylvania, and we're now coming up on the 2-year anniversary of that. Rob O'Neill, General Holt, we'll have you both back. Good to see you. Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Reading scores are down. Math scores are down. Vote no on Richard Woods.
My name is Shayna, and I'm the CEO of Baskin Lather Co. I'm also a licensed nurse practitioner. Baskin Lather Co. is a natural hair growth brand catered towards not only growing, but retaining the length of textured hair. A few years ago, my younger sister lost all of her hair to a ringworm that was misdiagnosed as dandruff. So our mother took things into her own.
Okay, my apologies, beloveds. I had to step away for a moment. Someone was at the door. Now, with that all being said, I find that all very interesting. Okay, I find that all very interesting. And then someone in the chat, I forget who, said, are we... Anthony said, did Queen fall asleep? No, I stepped away because someone was at the door. Sit down somewhere. Okay, but here's the thing. Someone said, are we just going to ignore the fact that he just said that he's killed plenty of people or whatever? Right. These Navy SEALs, you know, they're trained to do that. But more specifically, I think he's the guy, if I'm not mistaken, let me look it up to be sure. But I think he's the one that they say shot Osama bin Laden. Let me see here. Who, in my opinion, absolutely did not. Yeah, he is. The Navy SEAL that shot bin Laden, Rob O'Neill. Yeah, that's him. That's definitely somebody that he killed. Okay? Measurements, and I was trying to hit skip, LOL. Oh, because I let y'all watch the whole thing. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. All right, so anyway, with that all being said, I think I'm going to show one more clip because they say, we're going to talk about this. They say Cash Patel may be getting fired. They say it's only a matter of time. Now, the reason I find that interesting is because just last week we were talking about how he thought that he was fired the day that he got locked out of his computer. So here's what they're reporting. This is from Politico. They say FBI Director Kash Patel could be the next senior official to leave the Trump administration, according to a White House source cited in a news report by Politico. Now, the document points to growing internal frustration inside the federal agency. Politico's Dash Burns reported that pressure is building around Patel's position, with one unnamed official suggesting his time in office may be limited. Okay, Burns wrote on X saying, a top White House official tells me that Kash Patel, or Small Change, is likely the next cabinet level official to go. And it's only a matter of time. Okay. Now, that's what the official who was granted anonymity to discuss the sensitive matter told me, he says. Goes on to say, the same source said concerns within the administration include the negative coverage surrounding Patel, which they described as damaging for a senior official's image. Burns added that there are several reasons, the official says, but top among them is the number of negative stories, centered on Patel. That is not a good look for cabinet secretary. And Trump is fed up with the level of distraction. Oh, I'm sorry. He doesn't want distractions that focus on anyone else and their BS, only on his. Please pay attention. Now, because you can't be getting more press than him, clearly. Now, the report comes at a time when Patel is already facing legal and media scrutiny. He has filed a $250 million defamation lawsuit against The Atlantic following a story by a journalist, Sarah Fitzpatrick. So anyway, listen to this. Hold on. They also say The Atlantic has rejected the claim, stating we stand by our reporting on Kash Patel, and we will vigorously defend The Atlantic and our journalists against this meritless lawsuit. But mind you, the lady said she had, if I'm not mistaken, at least a dozen or almost a dozen sources who gave her this information. So everybody can't be lying, is all I'm saying. I mean, they could, but it's very unlikely. Now, separate reporting by The Intercept has also drawn attention to Patel's past, referring to a 2005 disclosure letter submitted to the Florida bar. The filing mentioned 2 earlier arrests, one for public intoxication. He clearly loves his alcohol, when he was an underage college student, no less, and another for public urination while he was studying law in New York. Clearly old enough to know better, okay? Now, with that all being said, remember he tried to make us think that he didn't actually urinate, that he was just about to before the police saw him sit down somewhere with the lies. Now, it goes on to say in the letter, Patel said the college incident happened after he was removed from a basketball game and later arrested by police. The second incident took place during a night out with friends and ended up with what he called a gross deviation from appropriate conduct. Which resulted in a fine for public urination. He said, we went to a few of the local bars and consumed some alcoholic beverages. You ought to pay attention. It resulted in a fine for the public urination. So that's all he had to do, but I think he was still charged with a misdemeanor. Anyway, it says, at the end of the night, we decided to walk home. We already know the story. He told. So let's continue. Now, the resurfacing of these disclosures has come alongside renewed scrutiny of Small Change Patel's conduct in office. Earlier this year, he was filmed drinking beer with the U.S. men's Olympic hockey team in Milan after their gold medal win, an incident he defended as an expression of national pride. So for national pride, we should all go out and get drunk and just have fun in the locker room, sipping on beer. Okay, whatever. That's his story. He's sticking to it. That's his story. We're sticking to it. Now, let's go to this video. We're almost done, folks, because the rest of this stuff I'm just going to talk about later on another broadcast. But here is a Caucasian woman who says, and I agree, that, them trying to put this black-looking person out there, them trying to put this black-looking person out there is just all for show. Okay, what about Trump's public defection? I can't believe Anthony said the Queen fall asleep. Y'all know I did fall asleep on a live one time. Do y'all remember No, y'all don't remember because y'all didn't even know I was asleep until I told you. I literally fell asleep on a live, which just goes to show how hard y'all work me. Okay, like I'm Kunta Kinte or somebody. But I literally fell asleep one time with my eyes open. I was literally sitting up here asleep with my eyes open. So y'all never even knew until I told y'all. I confessed some days later. I literally confessed some days later. Yes, I did. Okay. Yes, I did. Aqua Girl Rising said, sipping on some scissor. I wasn't sipping on anything but tea, honey. I was so tired. When the people said, I remember that. Okay, you would. Ooh, honey. Okay. I was knocked out. Let's go to this clip. Like so, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, here we go.
This is the worst fucking episode of Scandal since this shit started. So you mean to tell me some lone-ass white guy walks into the White House during a gala and gets that close? The fuck out of here. But there's no motive? And he wasn't shot? The fuck out of here. Didn't they kill a black woman a couple years ago for just driving the wrong fucking way? Like, this is a distraction. This is a planned propaganda move so we can watch white girls who unalive their husbands cry wanting to go home. Get the fuck out of here. We're going to watch Melania go under the table 752 fucking times. This is ridiculous. All a distraction. All a distraction. Like, this couldn't be more fucking obvious if it was a Quentin Tarantino film. Yeah, just a real quick reminder, there's no water. There's no water. It doesn't matter what state you live in. There's no fucking water. Now back to your regularly scheduled bullshit. I swear to God, this is the worst fucking episode of Scandal since this shit started. So you mean to tell me some lone-ass white guy walks into the White House?
Now, there's another video. I put up her wrong video, but there was another video where she was saying this guy, they're putting it out there that he's black because they want to start confusion and they want to appeal to hatred. And that's exactly what I believe. Okay. Like my friend said months ago, I absolutely believe it. Now, like I said, he's black looking, but is he even black? Hold on. Let me see what Chat GPT says about his race or ethnicity. Because this is what people are saying online. He looks like he could be biracial, possibly, which I guess would make him black. Hold on, beloveds. What is Cole Allen, the shooter's race? It says, based on currently available credible reporting about the 2026 White House Correspondents' Dinner shooting and the suspect Cole Thomas Allen or Tomas Allen, his race has not been officially confirmed or consistently reported by authorities or major news outlets. In fact, some media analysis has pointed out that race is being omitted, okay, or treated as non-relevant in early coverage, which is fairly typical in ongoing investigations unless it's directly tied to the case. Well, here's the thing. I find that interesting, which makes me further think he's not black. There's people that are black looking and they're not black. Okay, I don't think he's black. I think he just looks like it, period. Okay, because if he was really black authentically, I think they would have said that first. Okay, I think that's what they would have said. I think they would have led with that. See, this is to start confusion, to have people speculating and assuming. That's what I believe. They just say that he's 31 years old, background California tech teacher, engineer, educated, work history, alleged motives, and manifesto, but race is not included in confirmed law enforcement releases or widely corroborated reporting. Okay, it doesn't say anything about his race. So I find that interesting. All right, but they did do things to make you feel and imply that he's black. They tried to say he's tied to this woke ones or whatever it's called, that woke group that was basically working or affiliated with Black Lives Matter. Okay, that's what they did. Okay, and then Just Anticipate said Tomas may be Hispanic. Hold on, let's look that up. Let's look it up. Good point there, beloved. Origin of the name Tomas. Spanish, Portuguese, Lithuanian, and Scandinavian. Okay, originating from Aramaic ta'oma, meaning twin. It is the equivalent of the name Thomas, gaining widespread uses throughout Europe. So, that all being said, this man is not black. Okay, he probably is Spanish or Portuguese or Scandinavian, Lithuanian even. Okay, please. Hold on, let me see one more thing. And I'm going to tell you why I don't think he's black. Because there used to be a guy that I worked with who was from Nicaragua, and that's how he looks. He was Nicaraguan. He didn't look black or white. He looked like kind of in between, maybe biracial, but he was not black or white. Okay? And so with that all being said, what do y'all think? What do y'all think? Buckhorst DC said he ain't black. No, he's not. Gang Girlnery says his dad is black and his mom is white. Really? Let me see if I can find pictures of his parents. Let's see if I can find pictures of his parents. Let's see here. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, guys. Well, we have to claim him then because his daddy sure is black. Let's go to the picture. Thank you for telling me that, beloved. It's all a mess. Ladybug said, I believe he is part ninja. Hold on. I don't want to claim him. Hold on. Let me pull it up. I knew they'd find one way or another to pull us into the BS. Y'all see his family right there. There's his dad. Okay. There's his dad, and there's his mom right there on the stairs, and there's his siblings. They all look biracial. Nonetheless, it's still fraudulent in my opinion. Okay, period. Period. But here's the thing. If they're trying to start a civil war between us and them, they're going to have to do a better job than that because nobody's falling for it. Aquarius MC said his dad, you are wrong for that, said his dad is black as smoke. First of all, black as smoke, beloved? I absolutely cannot. Pathway Sand Prophecy says we sending him back to the white side. Leon said we ain't claiming him. New Kim said, but here's the thing. Yeah, because I do say that all the time, don't I? But here's the thing. Well, anyway, at the end of the day, this is all very interesting. Let's see what they're saying in this. The DA whose sign is on WHCD shooter Cole Allen's front lawn speaks out, revealing close ties to the family. He looks crazy. But here's the thing. Like I was telling you all, this man, experts say he could face up to 40 years. Yeah, he probably will end up facing up to 40 years for something that he was likely programmed to do, like a whole Manchurian candidate, okay? Like somebody talking to him in his head and steering the wheel while he's sitting in the driver's seat. That's what I think. Okay, either way, I don't think this was his idea. I think he was coached along. Anthony said Christmas addicts is crazy. Not Christmas addicts. A sleeper cell, says Pensilola. I call it a patsy. That's what it sounds like more so to me. Okay, listen, let's go into a couple of war updates and then we're out of here for real. So let's go to, and I got something juicy to tell you all about later when I come back. I'm not going to get into it right now because this live will last too long. Hold on. Hold on. Where's that video? Damn it. Hold on, beloveds. Hold on. Now, I know. Here it is, right here. Okay, let's go to what Professor Morandi had to say about the Iran incident. Now, I'm going to start at like the 6-minute mark. Says the U.S. broke the deal with Iran at the last minute, and Iran strikes back. Okay, so where's my timestamp for this? I'm just going to start at the beginning because I don't remember the exact timestamp. Okay, so let's listen to a few minutes of this. Right, Jay McClendon, I think we figured it all out, beloved. Thank you. I think we figured it out that he's biracial, but I'm still not claiming him. Okay, period. Put my overlay on here.
The president is the head, excuse me, the president is the head of that council. There are members in that council according to the Constitution. The leader has 2 representatives. And there's a chair to that council, which the president and the leader agree upon. All strategic decisions are made in that council. So right now, the negotiations that we see that take place between Iran and the United States, the file is in the hands of the Speaker of Parliament, who is also a colleague of mine at the University of Tehran, and he was also a general during the war when Saddam Hussein invaded Iran. He was a volunteer turned turned military officer, and he went up in the ranks till he became a general. But so the file is in his hand, and the file is given to him by the Supreme National Security Council with approval of the leader. Because when the Supreme National Security Council makes a decision, it also has to get the approval of the leader. So if the Supreme National Security Council makes a decision and the leader does not approve, it goes back to the council to be revised. So his status is very clear. The file is in his hand. Now, what the Iranian Navy, whether it's the regular Navy or the IRGC Navy, the IRGC Navy works in the Persian Gulf and the regular Navy in the Gulf of Oman and the Indian Ocean. Whatever the IRGC does in the Persian Gulf, it is with the authority of the armed forces and the Supreme National Security Council. So nothing is, no policy is pursued without the consent of the council and the state. So it's very, this sort of debate really doesn't make much sense. I feel that it came, this notion of divisions in Iran came after a tweet that the Iranian foreign minister made. When Netanyahu finally was forced to accept the ceasefire, Mr. Arakchi, the foreign minister, tweeted that the Strait of Hormuz is now open. And some people in Iran misunderstood him, thinking that Iran is relinquishing control of the Strait of Hormuz. That's not what he wrote. Maybe he could have rephrased it in a different way, but that's not what he said. He was basically saying it's open, but there will be a certain mechanism through which ships can go through the strait. And then what happened was that afterwards, Trump said, well, the Strait of Hormuz is open now, but we're not removing our siege. And after that, Iran reversed its decision. So it wasn't because there was there were differences in Tehran, where the foreign minister declared one thing and then the state reversed that decision later. No, it was the state authorized the opening of the Strait of Hormuz under certain conditions because the Israeli regime was finally forced to accept the ceasefire. But since Trump refused to end the siege, which was a violation of the ceasefire, they said, okay, since he's not going to remove the siege, then we are going to continue keeping the Strait of Hormuz like it was before. So the decision was reversed because of Trump, and it had nothing to do with the
Okay, so let me just say what he's talking about here for those of you who may be a little lost or what have you. So what this is all about is they said they made an announcement that the Strait of Hormuz was open, okay? But they were talking about to the ships that they were going to allow to pass through. Now, the media tries to flip the script and say that Iran's movements or their choices disrupted the ceasefire, when absolutely no, it was Trump. Trump immediately put up a blockade after they already had a ceasefire agreement. When him doing that, that was against the ceasefire. Okay, so then Iran decided to do what they wanted to do. So also the media tried to spin the narrative and act as though that the Iranians were going against Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. Okay, when he said that the Strait of Hormuz was open, the media, lamestream media, of course, was trying to say that even their own people are going against them. Even their own people are upset. No, some people were confused by what he said. Okay, they thought, is he giving in to the U.S. or whatever? You know, because that's the narrative that was being put out there by the media. Okay, basically just lies and BS as per usual. All right, but also listen. I'm about to be out of here, but I want to show you all a couple of more things. I did find that lady's video that I was looking for where she said the guy's not black. Y'all are saying that he is, or we're all saying that he has a black father. Now, are those his real parents? Are those his real parents? I have questions. You know, you just can't always believe them, but hold on. Also, let's go to comedian Godfrey and what he had to say, okay, about this whole incident at the correspondence dinner. And then we're out.
My original video down, I'm just going to come even harder in this motherfucker. So buckle up, buttercups.
Now, here's the thing. Why did they take down her original video? Because what I know is they take down videos when you're telling the truth, not when people tell lies. Because people tell lies on the internet all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. They don't get their videos taken down. And y'all know some of the main liars on ScrewTube and other social media platforms. But they took down her original video. So she came back again.
That is not a black man. That is confusion. And that is on purpose. And the race baiting, rage baiting propaganda that is being put out right now by this administration is absolutely 100% intentional. Like, y'all got to understand, this administration knows very well its poverty and working class constituents. There is no way in anywhere in this country now in 2026 that a redneck, racist, white trash, working class, or below the poverty line white family ain't going to have 3, 4, 5, 6 biracial children without their dads in the front yard. It is a dime a dozen now. That is who this propaganda is for. The ignorant, I ain't a racist because I'm a meemaw to 5 biracial babies. All 3 of my daughters are locked up and I ain't seen not near one of these kids' dads, but I ain't a racist. That's who this propaganda is for. Fuck all y'all. I'm not going to take my original video down. I'm just going to come even harder in this motherfucker.
Oh, she didn't say they took it down. She said she wasn't going to take it down because they wanted her to. The racists were going in on her because they don't want her saying he's not black, because they want to go with that. Oh, he's black, so they can have more angst and disdain. Meanwhile, at the same time, knowing pretty much that we all think it's fake. Okay, but let's go to Godfrey's video. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Let me get my overlay.
Another assassination attempt on Donald Trump. But this time it's at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Obviously. Out of here. Come on. I'm sorry. Listen, I don't wish stuff on anybody, but come on. I really, this is what I think. His ratings are so low that he is like, we have got to find something to get people to like me again and feel sorry for me again. Come on. I mean, the Correspondents' Dinner in the White House. Now they're getting in the White House now. Really? That well-guarded building where you can't even get to the lawn. And now And then they show the guy. He's like a mixed looking dude. Of course, he's not a white guy this time. He's like a mixed look. He's a teacher, a science teacher, something like that. And I guess he's in on the take because I don't know how much they paid him for that. But the footage, I see the footage. I'm like, Donald doesn't even duck until it was at least 30 seconds. He's just sitting there at the table like, and then all of a sudden it's like duck down. And you see other people ducking down, but it looked really, really staged. They didn't even look that scared. If someone is really shooting, I mean, you're supposed, plates should be falling all over the place. Oh, it was like.
Isn't that exactly what I said days ago, beloveds? Isn't that exactly what I said days ago? I said tables, chairs, plates, everything should be falling over. People running for cover, trying to get the H up out of there. But no, everybody's calmly duck under tables, sitting in chairs, perched, phones out. Like, really?
People are like, duck, duck, duck. They're at a dinner like, duck down. Oh, this duck is fantastic. The tartar. Watch out. Is everybody okay? That shit looks so phony. Man, this is a circus, man. It's a circus. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I think it's bullshit. To me, I just think that as we come closer to midterms, he's going to be up to his shenanigans again. I just don't believe this shit. I barely believed this shit the first time. So this second, I'm like, yo, so he said, because, I think he stopped having comedians at the correspondence dinner because he doesn't know how to take a joke. So now instead of a comedian, he's going to get him an assassin now. Is that what it is? You all let me know. Jeez, and he had a press conference right after that. Yeah.
I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories with this whole thing, but I'm sorry. Who the hell, does a little speech after an assassination attempt and talks about a ballroom?
This is why we have to have.
Okay, sit down somewhere, okay? All cap, in my opinion. Now, that being said, one more clip. I forgot to show you all this when the FBI stormed the shooter's house. Okay, when they stormed his house searching for evidence. Let's go to that, and then we're out of here.
FBI swarms suspect's California home after gunfire erupts at Washington's most powerful dinner, unmasking a quiet tutor now accused of plotting chaos at the highest level. According to the Associated Press, the California man arrested in the shooting at the White House Correspondents Association dinner is a highly educated tutor and amateur video game developer, opposed to the policies of President Donald Trump. Voter registration records from California lists Cole Thomas Allen's home address as his parents' house on a tree-lined street in one of the most historic neighborhoods in Torrance, a city within the Los Angeles metro area. Public records show he is the oldest of 4 adult siblings, with 2 younger sisters and a brother. 2 cars were parked in the driveway Sunday morning. A blue scooter that a neighbor said Allen rode was on the front lawn. No one answered the door when an Associated Press reporter knocked.
All that I have seen is the preparation by the lead agency, which is the FBI, and they're really here taking it step by step and just trying to be very careful before they can enter the home and do some investigation. The Torrance PD role is really as a backup as needed. The FBI is just taking the lead, so we're just having our officers here almost, doing a little traffic control, keeping the neighborhoods calm and make sure nothing else happens. But there's not a whole lot of other information that I'm getting. It's like, as they need it, they'll pass it on to us. The city of Torrance is a very friendly and a safe city.
All right, I think we've heard about enough. So with that all being said, listen. I'm out of here. Somebody said in the comments on that one video that they thought it was a white man in a full body suit. Hold on, I'm still trying to figure out, why did they have his shirt off? Okay, why did they have his shirt off? Okay, and then here's the thing. It was pretty slick of them To have a mixed person who's part white and part black, if that's what he actually is, that was pretty slick, because we all know that 9 times out of 10, people who do that kind of stuff don't look like me. We already know that 9 times out of 10, the people who do such things don't look like me. So they had to put a little them in him to make it even more convincing. Okay, please pay attention. I am so out of here. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I'll be back later with a second half, honey, because when I tell you, it gets even more nefarious. Okay, so stay tuned. I'll be back at around, say about 7:30 or 8. If you don't get a notification, just check the channel. All right. What? Measure Man said no, he was butt naked. No, he was not. He had his shirt off. Let me look this up. I know darn well that man was not butt naked, and if so, why? Why would he be naked? He literally had on clothes. Who took his clothes off? Who took his clothes off? I have several questions. This is all crazy. Hold on here. And nobody said anything about this on the news. Measure Man, hold on. I'm going to look this up. If I waste my time and our time looking this up and this man wasn't naked, honey, I'm going to go in on you. Pay attention. Let me go to Chat GPT because Google's not answering. It's just pulling up a bunch of articles about the situation. No, the man was not naked. Okay, the man was not naked. It said he was at least partially shirtless with his hands cupped behind his back. I saw the pants on him. I was thinking at some point, there's a big difference. This is Chat GPT going in on you, not me. There's a big difference between shirtless during arrest, possibly due to the struggle or being searched, than being fully naked. None of the verified sources describe him as naked at any time for capture. I knew that didn't make any sense, because if he was, somebody would say something about the news. Okay, Measure Man out here spreading fake news. Measure Man, sit down somewhere. Then he's gonna laugh about it. I like your nerve. Steve said, Queen said he better be naked. Measure Man, thanks for wasting my time. Okay, Measure Man knew he wasn't naked, just trying to keep me on here for longer, honey, but it's not going to work. Okay, it's not going to work, Measure Man. You can try your little tricks and shenanigans, but I'm still out. Okay, so that I've been said, listen. Oh, let me say one more thing before we go. Prayers for this man right here. You all know this is Samuel Monroe Jr., who always plays the tough guy, the thug in the movies like Menace to Society and whatnot. Okay, his mother put out a plea for prayers. Please pray for Samuel Monroe Jr., my son, who is now on life support. God don't make no mistakes, but he is gracious, and I'm humbly asking for his mercy and grace for Sam. I love you, son, to the moon and back. 100 times. It's also said she did not disclose what his illness is, but that he's been put on life support. So prayers for him. Right, and Players Club too. That's right. He was Junior who had that party where Ebony got R-worded. Right. Okay, so anyway, with that all being said, Jack on the road said, Queen of Peeping Game. Okay? So anyway, listen, I love you all to life. I hope you enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Until next time, peace.
With that gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen. Why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunsa. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. See a bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood, kings all in my circle. You touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got